After 4 years, he has finally arrived. You would thought that they would release him closer to Elga release date because husband and wife, so like go into a pair together. But it took them releasing the father-in-law that backstabbed him first and then release him. So it's kind of like weird how it took this long for Elga husband to finally join this game. So the new unit for this time is Mahrez. He is a warrior DPS and also a warrior support hybrid. How Mahrez and his whole gimmick work is that whenever any allies act, they will gain the Alliance Pride effect, which is, for Mahrez, is a buff that improve his other skill usage. On top of that, they will gain additional buff based on how many times he has used his latent power. So for his latent power, he has 3 skill sets that he can switch to. One is an AoE sword, one is a single sword, and the other one is a 50% active cap and attack sword damage up for everyone. However, each of the 3 skills also individually give Mahrez 1 buff permanently in the form of a Lion's Claw, Lion's Fang, and Lion's Heart. These buffs, they do stack with each other. It's not like an exclusive thing where you switch form. So you use all 3, you will gain all 3 buffs. They are permanent. It's kind of similar to how Hikari need to cast both Tendus on and Sogetsu's in so that he can get the double casting after 7 turns. As for what the buff does, is on his other passive, which is whenever an ally's act, grant them Lion Pride, and also additionally, grant them bonus effect based on the buff that Mahrez have. You get the Lion Claw, you get 50% potency up, the Fang give 1.4 crit, and the Heart give 20% damage up only if you hit the sword weakness. So this damaging up part is only useful if you like a sword DPS. So the main priority for this buff is actually already in order. The Lion Claw is the most important one, so you always want to get the Lion's Claw first, and then the Lion Fang for the 1.4 crit, and then the Lion's Heart. The last one is a bit weak and you don't really need it, so you can just like completely forego the Lion's Heart and just get the Lion Fang and Lion's Claw. And then lastly, you have his Torchman passive, which is not related to his Lion's buff, rather is to the Warrior class. He grants everyone buff based on the number of warriors on your team, and at 6 plus warriors, which is the requirement for all of the buff, you grant the entire team attacks or damage up, SP cost reduction, passive cap, and also a 1000 damage cap up. I would say though is that unless you're in drop tower, getting 6 warriors on the field in a proper team is not worth it. There's not that many good warriors and like it's not really worth to run 6. Most of the time you can run 4 with like himself, another DPS, and Crick and Shed, and even then it's not optimal. So don't worry about getting the full effect of this. Try to get at least 4, but like don't try to get the 6 warrior. You don't have to worry about missing out the last part. And lastly, for his ultimate Thunderclap Skyfang, 3 AoE sword that also reduce the latent power cooldown to 0. Also, it grants Lion's Pride to all allies for 3 turns. This is the only skill that he has, the only way to grant everyone Lion's Pride for 3 turns consistently. And this is a really good ultimate because this is not just a damaging ultimate, it grants other benefit on top of the damaging part. However, it's not really worth it to go for Awakening Oath for this one first, mainly because Mahrez has a good A4. His A4 reduced the latent power cooldown, which is beneficial for himself and some other character too, like a Bar, and maybe some future character that were dependent on the LP. So you care about his A4, then do try to go for his A4 first before going for his ult. Then again, I don't really recommend pulling for him for his A4. If you have to spare Awakening Shot, there's still other stronger accessory A4 to exchange for, like Hikari and Osha EX, but you'd like to do like Legend Power like gameplay, then you can work toward Mahrez A4 eventually when he get added to the shop. So for his main skill, he has Lion's Multi-Slash, which is a 4 hit, 6 hit you have 6 pride, that also grant everyone's Lion's Pride. This is your one way to grant everyone Lion's Pride and also like do a shoot shift in the process. Don't use the skill for damage though, the potency is very low. It's 6 times 90 at max, which is 540, and 540 in the modern day meta is not that good at all. So his main way to do damage is Regal Slash, which is a 3 AoE sword and has 8 plus pride. He can hit all physical weakness and it's become a 6 hit. The potency is 6 times 130 assuming everything is maxed out, which is decent for a DPS support hybrid like him. He also has like a single target skill, but that one has less hit, so it might run into damage cap problems, so this is his main way to do damage. Also it's AoE too, so it's better than single target. His buffing skill sort of added us, grant everyone 50% attack and soul damage up, and also grant them Lion's Pride. Also any wards in the back row. Easy way to gain like at least 4 Lion's Pride, maybe 5 and 6. A bit hard to set up 8 Lion's Pride properly though, so your main way of getting 8 Lion's Pride is probably through your ultimate, so don't try too hard on like forcing a team to get the 8 Lion's Pride thing. Now for his ES skill, Regal Fury. It's a 10 AoE sword that has very low power, even though he get power times 2, there's 8 allies with Pride. It's 10 times 40 assuming everything maxed out, which is 400, which is very low, but that's way lower than even his Lion's Multi-Slash. So your main usage of the skill is for the 10 hit shield shape. Don't try to go for the power and try to use the skill as the main damaging skill, try to use the skill for shield shaping instead. Kinda similar to how he got the EX skill is similar to. Now for reveal, Mahrez gets 7 out of 10. The buff that he gave out is nice, decently nice, however there's like problems, quite a bit problems with him. But his buff is mostly beneficial to warriors only, and it's restricted, make it like harder to use generally. Other unit who is like restricted in the classing buff, like Tiziano, they buff their own class so good that they can be used generally everywhere. However, Mahrez doesn't achieve the same level. His buffing in the same class is restricted to his class, and even like when you give that buff to everyone else, it's not worth it to run multiple warriors over this, so. And also, assuming that you do have 8 Pride and get all the buff that Mahrez give out, the buff that he give out isn't as good as modern day standard at all. Like even for warrior like Dark Knight, right, which is like one of the main meta DPS right now, Dark Knight would be fine without Mahrez. He doesn't need Mahrez. Mahrez can help, but the buff he give out isn't significant enough that you want to run Mahrez with Dark Knight. And Dark Knight would rather want someone else like Medusa EX better, so. So therefore, the buff that he give out is still restricted, and even if it's not restricted, it's not good enough for modern day standard. So therefore, it's not really worth pulling for him. However, there are a few reasons you might want to pull for him. One is that he is Elga's husband and you want to pull for him. He do have great synergy with Elga and battle though, so that's one reason. 2, he do have synergy with his wife future EX2 form, which is Brighter Elga, coming eventually in the future. Because Bright Elga also work with the lines mechanics, so they do have some synergy. It's not really like must have, but it still work. And 3, he has a good A4. You can get 1 copy of Mahrez and then exchange slowly for his A4 in the future once they get added to the shop, so.